Good evening, everyone. I'm Officer Andrew Peak, Public Information Officer for the San Mateo Police Department. On behalf of the department, we'd like to thank all of our attendees, both in person and virtually, for joining us for Real Talk. Please make sure to silence any cell phones, and if you need to take a conversation, go ahead and do it outside. Thank you very much. Tonight, we'll be talking about e-bike education with our traffic officer, Officer Jolivette. If you're new to Real Talk, make sure to go onto our YouTube page and check out our archive. We have a ton of information for you, and it's been going on for about 4 years. A lot of great info. After we are done with the presentation, we'll have a Q&A portion for anybody in person, and anyone else with inquiries over email can email it to pdpio@cityofsanmateo.org. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Barbary.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, good evening. Thanks for being here. My name is Ed Barbary, and I do serve as your police chief here in the city of San Mateo. Welcome to Real Talk. For those of you that have followed Real Talk, we try to do this quarterly throughout the year. It kind of started during COVID, where we were looking for an opportunity to continue a dialogue with the community and address important issues that we're facing within the city. It's been virtual to this point, so this is our first effort at doing a hybrid Real Talk. It's always kind of been the dream to do it in person. So for those of you in person, you're our first crack at it. So thank you for being here. I'd like to thank our PIO team, not only Andy but Janine and Sergeant Hops. They do a great job of putting these together. And again, we try to identify topics that are meaningful to the community and that have an impact on folks that live in the city of San Mateo, and relate to what we're doing as a police department. So tonight we're going to be talking about e-bikes and e-scooters, as has been mentioned. Very complicated topic. We think it would be fairly simple, but the regulations and enforcement can be challenging to navigate through. So tonight we're going to try to provide some clarity. Quick caveat: I don't think we're done here with this topic. I think that the laws regarding these vehicles will continue to evolve. So what we're talking about tonight may be different a year or so from now. So we are adapting like everyone else was. When I was a real cop, I didn't have to deal with these types of issues, but there's always something new that comes up, and these have presented a challenge for not only us, but for the folks that are impacted in our communities every day. So our traffic unit has done a heck of a job in trying to herd the cat, so to speak, when it comes to not only the regulations, but our enforcement options when we're dealing with these types of things. Each of these vehicles is a little bit different, which presents a challenge because the vehicle code allows for different types of things depending on the type of vehicle that we're talking about. So kudos to our traffic unit for really grabbing the bull by the horns and trying to be as proactive and lean in on this as much as we can. So I'm going to step away and learn with the rest of you. I just kind of see the work that they do, but I don't live it day to day like they do. So I'm looking forward to the conversation tonight. I'm going to turn it over to our traffic sergeant, Nick Ryan. Nick is away at training, but he is a dedicated leader in the traffic unit and has agreed to join us virtually. So I think we have Nick on. There he is. And I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and we hope you find this useful, whether you're watching us live or you are watching us at a later date recorded. We'd love your feedback to see how this worked out. And then moving forward, if there are topics or ideas about future Real Talk episodes, we'd love to hear from you to learn what's important to you, so we can be timely and relevant with these conversations. So thank you and enjoy. Sergeant, are you there? There you are.
Thank you, Chief. My name is Nick Ryan. I'm the traffic sergeant, so I supervise our traffic unit. I just want to thank, I know you already thanked, but I want to thank everyone who showed up via Zoom and in person. And I also want to thank our PIO team for setting this whole thing up and get me linked in here via Zoom, because I know there's a lot of work and a lot of background that it takes to get this whole operation going. And then obviously I want to thank Officer Jolivette for his hard work on this. He has spent a tremendous amount of time really self-teaching himself and then teaching our department and our traffic officers about the laws and regulations surrounding e-bikes. And he's become sort of a self-taught expert in this field. And he's done a great job, and he spent a lot of time putting this presentation together for everyone. Just a very brief background on me. I'm not going to go too much in my law enforcement, but personally, so you know, I'm a bike enthusiast. I personally ride an electric mountain bike. I really enjoy it. I've ridden road bicycles. I grew up riding dirt bikes and racing dirt bikes. So this stuff, not only for the purpose of the community and safety and getting everyone educated, it holds a special place in my heart, as it's a fun pastime for me. And our main focus here today is just really to do the best we can to provide some clarity for our community on this issue, and especially for the parents here, either zooming in or in person. We want to make sure that you have as much information as possible, so that when you go out and you're purchasing something for your kids, you understand the rules and regulations around it, and then how to make sure that they're going to be as safe as possible when they're riding these bikes. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Officer Jolivette for his presentation. Thank you, Julio.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I know they say you're not supposed to tell how nervous you are when you start, but I'm going to give myself permission and say that I am very nervous. This is not my wheelhouse at all. So I know that there's a lot of people watching. I think that's even more nervous. Thankfully, we've got a nice warm crowd here in person. But yeah, so without further ado, we'll jump into this. So who am I? So my name, like my sergeant said, my name is Officer Jolivette. I work here at the San Mateo Police Department. I began with the city of Oakland about 11 years ago. And since having come here, I've worked some time on patrol. And then, of course, currently I'm assigned to our Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Bureau, or division. I'm currently also on the Major Accident Investigation team. And why we're here. More recently, I've noticed that, of course, these electric vehicles have been popping up in our city. They're fun, they are affordable, and they are easily purchasable. So we've been seeing a lot within our community. We partner with sister agencies nearby, and in supporting them in their enforcement efforts, we've also been seeing them just throughout the entire county. With that being said, we've also noticed a plethora of complaints that also come with them. So I found that with the complaints, the problem solvers that we are, there wasn't really much literature or information put out for us. So being the good investigator that I am, I sought it out myself to try to seek some clarity. We've also been noticing some collisions involving these electric vehicles, and in so investigating them, I also had to challenge myself to figure out, okay, well, what are the standard regulations set for investigating these and properly documenting them? So I took it upon myself to see not only how I can better understand this, but also what I can do as a member of our unit to keep our community safe and informed when it comes to the safe operation of riding these electric vehicles. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's talk about the side of the story that doesn't get much attention, and that's safety. So even celebrities like Simon Cowell and Nina Dobrev, with access to the best gear and support, have been seriously injured riding electric vehicles. Simon Cowell broke his back, requiring a metal rod. Nina Dobrev fractured her knee, requiring ACL repair. So even celebrities can find themselves getting into trouble with these electric vehicles. While celebrity injuries grab headlines, there's much more heartbreaking reality that doesn't always make national news. So this training is to ultimately prevent headlights like this from happening close to home. These are just a few of the many tragic incidents involving young riders who never made it home. Behind every headline is a grieving family, a community in shock, and the reminder that we must do better when it comes to education, safety, and regulation. Electric vehicles are powerful machines, and when used without proper training, equipment, or awareness, especially with young riders, the results can really be devastating. That's why it's critical that every rider knows the rules, understands their own limitations, respects the dangers, and recognizes how different these vehicles are from the bikes we grew up with. So again, just reiterating that this was an upcoming and new topic for all of us. They kind of just appeared, and everybody just had access to them. And with that comes headlines like this, where you buy the machine, you get excited, you go out, and you're having fun, and then tragedy strikes. So with this presentation, we're hoping as a department to get ahead of this and hopefully protect our community in the long run by sharing the message that you can ride electric vehicles, but just having a familiarity and an understanding of what it is that you're riding and what the rules are that are going to be put in place to keep you safe. So with that being said, I want to be clear, I'm not here to lecture about the law. I'm not here to attempt to prevent you from purchasing electric vehicles or dissuade you from buying them. My ultimate goal with this presentation is ultimately, if my slide works, is to educate. Like I said, we want to make sure that everybody who's operating these electric vehicles knows how to stay safe and follow the rules so that they can enjoy the ride. But before we do dive in, I wanted to just thank you all for being here and thank you all for those that are tuning in virtually. Truly, I do appreciate it. Is that everything? Yeah. I do appreciate it. I know life can get busy. I spent a lot of time on this. So it does make me feel special to know that you guys care about the effort that I put forward on this, and that you're willing to listen to what I have to offer about these vehicles. I'm going to try to be quick through it all. We're ultimately going to be covering electric vehicle definitions, the electric vehicle regulations, where to and where not to ride, some training, some registry options, and then we'll have that question and answer session towards the end. I will, in this presentation, cover electric bicycles, mopeds and motorized bicycles, motorcycles, off-highway motorcycles, electric scooters, and electric motorized boats, just as a focus point. Everything in this presentation has been a culmination of information I've pulled from the Vehicle Code, the San Mateo Municipal Code, the DMV Handbook, California State Parks, from CHP, the Coalition of Biking or California Biking Coalitions, and other cities like Huntington Beach, who are kind of the pioneers of e-bike education, given that they are a coastal town and a lot of people use their bikes. So I've reached out to them for some support and reference. In the slides themselves, when I cover each individual topic, you'll see at the bottom of the slide the reference to the California Vehicle Code, should you guys want to look into it on your own. I have it listed there for you as well. So without further ado, we'll jump in. So an electric bicycle. So this is the big question that I think is what prompted all of us to come here today and understand. It's quite simple. The Vehicle Code identifies that an electric bicycle is a bicycle. It's equipped with pedals and a motor that does not exceed 750 watts. That's it. So when you ask yourself, hey, is this an electric bicycle or not? Those are really the three core prongs of understanding what it is that you're working out. Within that definition, there's going to be three different types of classes of e-bikes, but ultimately all of the three fall under this category of it being a bicycle with pedals that does not have a motor that exceeds 750 watts. Okay, so the three classes are kind of simple: class 1, class 2, class 3. So class 1 is going to be a bicycle that's equipped with a motor that only provides assistance when pedaling and ceases to provide assistance when the bicycle reaches 20 miles per hour. We have some examples here in person, and we can kind of look at them a little bit later, but ultimately, again, class 1 bikes, when you're operating a bicycle in that category, you're going to be pedaling, and there's going to be electricity that's going to be kicking in to kind of help support you and push you forward so that you can reach speeds of up to 20 miles per hour. Again, that's a class 1 bike. Class 2 is going to be a little bit different. Class 2 is, again, a bicycle, of course. It's equipped with a motor that may provide exclusive propellant. And the propelling support that the energy would provide ceases to provide assistance at 20 miles per hour. So to reiterate, again, it's a bicycle with a thumb throttle or a twist throttle that will propel a rider forward. These usually are probably going to be your more common, I guess, desired bicycle, because people get the idea of they're not having a pedal. You just push the button and you're off. But again, you'll notice for it to be considered a class 2 e-bike, it can't go faster than 20 miles per hour. And then the last bike is going to be a class 3 e-bike. Again, a bicycle that's equipped with a motor that only provides assistance when pedaling, so comparable to a class 1 bike. And this one is going to be a little bit faster, and it reaches speeds of up to 28 miles per hour. Again, reiterating, it's a bike, has pedals, and these bikes don't go or don't have a motor that goes over 750 watts. If it does, we're going to start exploring some other categories. But that is your definition of an e-bike. So we'll talk a little bit about some general information on those. So some general information is that a driver's license is not required for any of these, but there is an age restriction, which we'll discuss shortly. Insurance will be highly recommended, or is highly recommended, not required when you're operating one of these bikes. License plates are not required, but an identification sticker is required. A little bit more on that. So the California legislation identified that there is a requirement for manufacturers to affix a sticker that has the classification of the bike, the top assisted speed, and the motor wattage of the bike. They are required by law to have this, and you as a consumer are required by law to keep it there. That allows law enforcement and others to recognize what type of bike it is that you're operating with. But yeah, those are required. That's the only real requirement by the law for quote unquote registration, if you will, would be a sticker. So some thoughts that I had on that was, okay, well, sometimes the manufacturers don't affix the label. My advice when purchasing these would be really to confront the merchant and say, hey, is the sticker on there? Or if you've already purchased it, follow up with them and say, hey, you guys were supposed to give me a sticker. I need the sticker. We need to make sure that it's fixed to the bike so that we're compliant with the law. And they should be sending that sticker off to you. So some regulations on electric bicycles. So as a whole, the California Vehicle Code identifies or recognizes that a bicycle is a vehicle. Therefore, permissions and restrictions outlined by law also apply to a bicyclist. So when it comes to the rules, just think if a vehicle can do it or can't do it, then so can or can't a bicycle. So as an example, if a vehicle approaches a stop sign, the vehicle is required to stop. So must a bicycle. If the driver of a vehicle is prohibited from using a cell phone while driving, so is a bicyclist. If the driver of a vehicle can't drive the wrong way on the road, neither can a bicyclist. As a caveat, while the state legislature permits bicyclists to operate on a sidewalk, the city of San Mateo does not. So there is a municipal code through the city that says you cannot ride on the sidewalks. So keep that in mind. For class 3 bikes, though, there's specific regulations for those as well. And that's a reminder that the class 3 bikes are the ones that are a bicycle with pedals that provide assistance when pedaling and reaches no faster than 28 miles per hour. So under that class of bike, you must be 16 to ride this. So you have to be over 16 if you're going to be operating a class 3 bicycle. A helmet is required for all ages, and a speedometer is required. Those are all legislative rules that are in play that you can be cited for. So if you're operating a class 3 bike, just keep those things in mind. If you have a 14-year-old that's driving a class 3 bike, they are not permitted to drive a class 3 bike. And while class 1 and class 2, a helmet is required for those under 18. A class 3, a helmet is required for all ages. And I know this is a lot coming at everyone fast. I think that we're going to be posting this somewhere. So for those that are writing notes quickly, we will make this available for you guys to review as well. And just really quick, that passenger riding prohibited, the vehicle code talks, or the DMV handbook talks about that. It's ostracized because the DMV handbook says that passenger riding is prohibited. But then looking into that, it is prohibited more specifically for e-bikes that do not have a permanent seat on the bike. So peg riding, riding on handlebars, things of that nature are not permitted. But if you have an e-bike that has a permanent seat, they are permitted to ride on the e-bike, but they are required to wear a helmet as well. So where may I ride my e-bikes? So from left to right, least safe to safest, here are the bike lane classes. So class 3 is a bike route, bike boulevard, also known as a share. These are meant for bicyclists to share the road with vehicles. For these, feel free to take the entire lane. That way you remain visible for the motorist on the roadway. This type of class, or this class of bike lane, allows for class 1, 2, and 3 bicycles to operate. The next is a class 2. This is your standard bike lane. This allows for class 1 and class 2. Class 4 is a separated bike lane that's divided from the highway, providing a buffer from the roadway. This one only actually allows for a class 1 and a class 2 bicyclist. Again, so that's this one here. And lastly, a class 1 is an off-street path or trail. Of course, these are going to be the safest of them all for the bicyclists. And class 1 and class 2 bikes are permitted to ride on these trails, as long as there's no city prohibitions that prevent you from riding on a class 1 bike path. So just keep an eye out for those city signs. For more information on where you can ride for our city, the city of San Mateo has an interactive map like what you see here that has all the bike lanes, the buffer bike lanes, and you can check those out for where you can ride. But when there's no bike lane, a reminder to touch on is that bikes shall ride on the right portion of the roadway, unless, of course, they're passing another vehicle, making a left turn, passing construction on the right. It's a one-way roadway, and or it's a narrow. So just make sure that, again, oftentimes we'll see people that are riding on the wrong side of the road, or they may be riding in the left lane, the fast lane. The law actually says you need to be on the right side of the road if you're outside of the bike. So what doesn't that mean? So with all of that being said, you may not ride in a crosswalk. If you wish to ride in a crosswalk, you must dismount and walk the bike when in a crosswalk. You may not ride on a sidewalk, and you may not ride the wrong way. This slide is dedicated mainly because this is an often primary collision factor that we see in our city, where there's bicyclists that are riding on the sidewalk and that suddenly appear in an intersection, surprising drivers. And they are at fault for that collision. So a really stern reminder that, again, if you're operating as a bicyclist, in the eyes of the law, you are a vehicle and you are subject to the same rules and permissions as the vehicle code permits. So just keeping that in mind when you're riding safely out there on the road. So e-bikes, I'll just reiterate. So that's what we covered on the e-bikes. So if you have a vehicle that's in front of you that does not fall within the parameters of what I just explained, we're now going to start exploring whether or not maybe it falls under the parameters of a moped or a motorized bicycle. So a moped or a motorized bicycle, these are 2 or 3 wheeled devices having no pedals if powered solely by electricity, with a motor that has an engine less than 4 gross brake horsepower, otherwise known as 3,000 watts. Capable of going no faster than 30 miles per hour on level ground. So that's a lot of information coming at you. Basically, these are your e-bicycle, if you will, in a summary, that go faster than the 28 mile per hour permissions that a class 3 bike offers you. Go faster than that, but less than 30. So it's kind of a really small and tight window of speed. And additionally, these are faster than the 750 watts that an e-bike permits. So if you have a vehicle in front of you that falls outside of those parameters, again, we begin to explore whether or not, is this a motorized bike or a moped? If it is, here is some of the some general information on that. So a moped or motorized bicycle requires an M1 or an M2 license, meaning that you must be at least 15 and a half years old to have the opportunity to ride these, meaning you can have a permit, a motorcycle permit, and operate one of these types of bicycles. A special license plate is required from the DMV, so you have to get it registered, and DOT approved helmets are required for the driver and any passengers. Interestingly enough, insurance is not required. However, you should consult your insurance, as they may not cover automatically. Your insurance may require a specific application for coverage if you're operating a moped or a motorized bicycle. Interestingly enough, manufacturers are also required by law to tell you that when you're purchasing. So if you purchase one of these and it is a moped, keep in mind they should be letting you know that, hey, your general car insurance is not going to cover a rider when you're riding these things. So again, some regulations on this. So like a bicycle, a moped or a motorized bicycle is a vehicle. But now we're beginning to look at it in the sense, not so much as a bicyclist is a car, but more in the sense that this type of bicyclist is actually a motorcycle. So with that being said, driving without a motorcycle license is prohibited when operating these. Driving without a visible license plate on these is also prohibited. Driving within bike lanes, because you don't see motorcycles in bike lanes. Driving these in bike lanes is also prohibited. And also driving without proper vehicle equipment. So things like a headlight, things like a horn, things like brake lights. Those are all requirements when you're operating in a motorized bicycle. With that being said, special shout out to parents. If you purchase one of these, if you purchase one of these vehicles require driver's licenses. And if you provide the vehicle to a motorist that does not have a license, you yourself have committed a crime by permitting a driver. And this is any vehicle, bicycle. If you hand the keys to somebody that you know does not have a license, you yourself has actually committed a crime. Yeah, so don't do that. So I think I covered all of that. So again, if the vehicle that's in front of you, again, doesn't meet an electric bicycle, doesn't meet an electric motorized bicycle, now we look and graduate to the next step, which is a motorcycle. So let's look at what a motorcycle is. If the vehicle that you have in front of you is faster than 30 miles per hour and is more powerful than 3,000 watts and is manufactured for roadway use, then you have a motorcycle. And this is pedals or not. So pretty much any vehicle that goes, or any electric vehicle in front of you that goes faster than 30 miles per hour, it by definition is a motorcycle. But a quick reminder that if it's designed for roadway use, we'll get into that. If it's designed for roadway use and it's faster than 30 miles per hour, that is a motorcycle. And with that being said, the permissions and restrictions again apply to that vehicle, such as having an M1 or an M2 motorcycle license, vehicle insurance, and vehicle registration. Again, stern reminder to parents that purchasing vehicles that go faster than 30 miles per hour or go faster than 28 miles per hour in this instance are considered vehicles that require licensing. And if you provide these to your children, you are in fact committing a crime by doing such. So make sure that you know what it is that you are purchasing before you do it and before you hand the keys off to the kid that you're purchasing it for, so that you and the person riding it don't get in trouble. Something to keep in mind though, and something that we have to reframe our thinking on is these are actually motorcycles. I stress the importance of the pedals. You see pedals here. We've talked about an e-bike requiring pedals. But as I mentioned previously, the only thing that identifies what a motorcycle is are these three notes. If it's faster than 30 miles per hour, has an engine more powerful than 3,000 watts, and it's manufactured for roadway use, which these vehicles are on your screen, these are actually motorcycles. And they require license plates from the DMV. They require the operator to have a license. So keep that in mind. You really have to do your homework on these, and that's really why I wanted to have this presentation to educate, because there isn't really much out there on this. So we have to reframe our thinking to keep in mind that what you're purchasing could potentially be a motorcycle. And don't let manufacturers fool you. Oftentimes I've noticed that a lot of these manufacturers will say that this is sold automatically set at a certain speed, therefore it is an e-bike. Pursuant to California standards, what it's sold at is irrelevant. What it's capable of meeting is what the standard is for these e-bikes. So if they set it to 20 miles per hour, but with the snip of a wire, it brings it to 70 miles per hour, or with the input of a code, it's a motorcycle. So whatever they set it at is irrelevant. It's what the motorcycle is capable of reaching. Okay, so what if the vehicle is not manufactured for roadway use? Well, then we're looking at an off-highway motorcycle, and they are flat out illegal to ride on public roadways, sidewalks, public roadways and sidewalks in the entire state of California. We've been seeing these again pop up in the city, and I've communicated with some of the riders of this, and there seems to be some confusion as to whether or not Foster City permits it or Belmont permits it, or what different cities may allow. This is a state law, so no different than you driving an ATV down the street. ATVs are not allowed on the street, neither are these. So when you're looking at a vehicle like this, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to what the manufacturer classifies this vehicle as. So look for things like off-highway vehicle or dirt bike or electric dirt bike. This is not an e-bike, this is not a motorized bike, and it's not a motorcycle. These are really dangerous. They're illegal. They're really dangerous. They're really fast. And we want to make sure that they're being ridden safely. This example here looks like an e-bike. But this came straight from their website that says this bike is for private off-road use. It's very easy to miss. And so we really want to stress the importance that these are not allowed on any roadways in the entire state. With that being said, some of the consequences if these are located. You can face impound for these vehicles. These vehicles are not, again, permitted to be on the roadway. So it could be towed, and the driver can be cited. And both of those incur fees upwards of the thousands. So to avoid having to pay more than probably what you purchased on the bike, quite honestly, I would completely, if you see that you're purchasing these, do not ride these on the roads. With that being said, if you have any additional questions, consult the experts. This is their wheelhouse, and by their wheelhouse, I mean the California State Parks. This is where these bikes are permitted in specific off-highway vehicle locations that permit these types of vehicles to be ridden. These are not permitted on our roads. These are dangerous for the rider, and they're dangerous for other motorists.
Julio.
Yes, sir.
Can I step in really quick? Just on this is I think the really important topic here that he covers, because we do see quite a few of these in our city. You'll see them on the roadway. If you start kind of paying attention, you'll notice them. I think and I know he touched on it a little bit, there's some confusion, I think, from parents if they think they're getting their kids an e-bike. To Julio's point, this is strictly an off-highway vehicle. To compare it, it's basically getting your kid a dirt bike with instead of a gas engine, it just has an electric motor. It's extremely fast. They'll do 50 to 80 miles an hour. They are not permitted on the roads. And then also, just as a side note, be very careful if you get your kid one. They're not going to be permitted at places like Sugarloaf Park or local parks where there's hiking trails or even bike trails that are off highway. They are I know Julio mentioned off-highway vehicle parks. Those are state recreation areas, the national forest. If you happen to have already got your kid one, you'll have to look at places like Hollister Hills and Metcalf. But our biggest concern really is the safety of your kids, because we have young kids riding these machines that are extremely fast. We've had some collisions. Fortunately, we've been lucky so far, but we really just want to make sure that the kids, if they're getting these, that they are used properly within the law and with the safety precautions that are needed to make sure that something tragic isn't going to happen out on the roadway involving them and their bike. So this is one of the big highlights here of this presentation. Thank you, Julio.
Yeah, sorry, this is about the time that I start to get a little winded. So, and I feel like I start losing people, but he's right. I mean, this is kind of really what brings us to today, is we're starting to see a lot of these pop up, and we want to make sure that our kids are being safe in the community, and they're riding the appropriate vehicles. So thank you, Sarge, for that. So to sum up the vehicles that we've spoken about, when you're making these purchases, just make sure that you're focusing on whether or not they have pedals, what the maximum wattage is, the maximum speed, and what the manufacturer's intent for the vehicle or classification of that vehicle is. Again, a reminder, if it says in the manual or in the website that this is for off-highway use, or it's a dirt bike, or it's off-highway vehicle, These are, again, not permitted in our roadways. So really try to hopefully learn that the differences between the two-wheeled vehicles that we have in front of us. Yeah, these are not permitted. And then just as an example, we have here a Altus electric dirt bike, and then we also have a Suron over there. The Surons, the Talarias, a lot of these types of manufacturers all design these for off-highway use. These are not allowed to be on our streets. Yeah. All right, so 2 more vehicles to cover. So electric scooters. This one's kind of also an interesting one. So it's a 2-wheeled device that has handlebars with a floorboard and or a seat, and it's powered by an electric motor. That's pretty much it. Here's some photos of one. But yeah. So some general information on these. Interestingly enough, and I think importantly enough, they require driver's licenses. I think a lot of people don't know this, and I think they don't do a really good job explaining it. But yeah, you require a license to operate an electric scooter, which means you have to be at least 15 and a half to drive one. License plates are not required, and insurance is not required, but it's highly recommended if operating. So that was really interesting to me because I know I've seen and stopped a lot of 12, 13-year-olds that are riding these. You have to have a license, and they can be cited for driving without it. So again, regulations. The state legislature assimilates an electric scooter for that of a vehicle. Again, therefore, permissions and restrictions outlined by the law also apply to scooters. Again, think if a vehicle can do it, similarly can or cannot a scooter. So examples like speed limits. There's speed limits for riding these, obeying signs, and driving the right direction on the road. Additionally, another kind of interesting point, electric scooters can't make left turns. So to perform left turns, the law says a scooterist must dismount on the right of the road and walk across the road. Kind of an interesting facts, but really important to know, especially as a traffic collision investigator, where a lot of our public don't know that rule. And when you perform a left turn on a scooter and get hit by a car, and I show up and I have to investigate it, technically I have to go with what the law says and what the rules say. And if the rules say you shouldn't have done what you did, then unfortunately you're at fault for your own collision. So that's, again, really why I wanted to have this presentation, to kind of just spread the information that's not really provided to you at point of purchase. So I wanted to make sure to stress that point. So again, driver's licenses are required for operating electric scooters and can't make left turns. So where can I ride them when I have it? Pretty much any, or not pretty much, but any bike lane. So class 3, 2, 4, and 1 you can operate in. The vehicle code does, interestingly enough, mention, though, if there is a class 2 bike lane available and you're not in it, for whatever reason, the law requires that you need to be in it. So safest place for an electric scooter anyway, just ride and bike. Alrighty. And the last vehicle we'll cover is electric motorized boards. This one's kind of interesting. And bear with me while we kind of map this one out. So as, again, you guys may now know, California has established parameters for vehicles that are permitted to operate on the roadway. The last category vehicle we'll discuss, again, is going to be the electric motorized board. An electric motorized board is any wheel device with a floorboard not greater than 60 inches deep and 18 inches wide that's designed to transport one person, has an electric propulsion less than 1,000, and travels no more than 20 miles per hour. That can travel no more than 20 miles per hour. So if the device in front of you falls within these parameters, the state of California recognizes that it is an electric motorized board and it's permitted to ride in our roadways. If it falls outside of these parameters, then the state of California recognizes that these are electric skateboards, and electric skateboards are flat out illegal. The vehicle code for that is on the screen, but I often am finding these kind of one-wheeled devices where you wouldn't consider them a skateboard per se. They don't fall under the electric motorized boards, and California has already really outlined for us what the vehicles are permitted to be on the roadways. So by deductive reasoning, then it's not an electric board and it's not permitted on the roads. Very interesting. Yes. So again, as my chief mentioned, I mean, this is evolving. I mean, it's a day-to-day thing that we deal with, and I think legislation is always. I mean, it's government. It moves as fast as it can. But I imagine this will evolve. But yeah, to your point, I mean, we see a lot of these, and when we look at what it is that is in front of us and out there. We as traffic investigators, we as police officers evaluate and should be understanding what the rules are that surround them. And oftentimes what we see is the operators of these ride faster than 15 miles per hour. The state recognizes that, or the state outlines that you can't operate these faster than 15 miles per hour. You shouldn't even be able to operate them faster than that because, again, the vehicle code identifies that the device can't go faster than 20 miles per hour. So this is also a very interesting vehicle that I'm sure is very there's a lot of opinions around. So some notable violations for these though is to operate them you have to be 16 years of age or older to operate. Again, you can't travel faster than 15 miles per hour, and headlights are required on these devices when you're in darkness. So where can I ride these? You can ride them on the highway. You can ride them on the public street. You can't ride them on streets that go faster than 35 miles per hour. So technically within our city, they can kind of go anywhere except J. Clinton, I think is the only street that's faster than 35 miles per hour. So you can see these on El Camino. You can see them in your roadways. They're permitted to ride on the road, of course, on the right side of it. All right, I think we're coming to the end of this. So some formal trainings to kind of round it out that I've found for you all is for those that are looking to purchase as we mentioned, an electric motorcycle for their 15, 16-year-old rider. Again, you can do so. They need to have a license. California Highway Patrol hosts a motorcycle riding training class to help riders of any age, of any legal driving age, understand how to safely operate there. So you can scan that or go to the CHP website for more information on that. They also, for the e-bike rider, have some information for you on the right side. You can scan that or go to their website. Some just information on e-bike operation. So if you want to find some more bicycle pedestrian information, the DMV handbook's QR code is here on your left. And then CHP also has invested some time in creating a downloadable phone application for more information on the things we covered tonight on the right. And I want to also just give a shout out to the city of Encinitas. They've, again, when we talk about the city of Huntington Beach, cities that are in Southern California, your coastal towns are really, they're the ones that are, they're already ahead of us with identifying and managing and explaining these. I found these two videos that have done a fantastic job and basically summarize this long presentation in about 7 or 8 minutes. Sorry you have to bear with me on that, but they do a really good job of explaining. So you can check out some videos from them on that. While I have your attention, I also wanted to bring your attention to this pretty cool website that I came across, the bikeindex.org. They are a nonprofit organization that have availed themselves to the public for registering their vehicles or their bicycles. That includes e-bikes. So protect your investment. It helps us should the worst happen and you get your bike stolen. It'll help us, try to make sure that we can do what we can to get your bike back. But yeah, lastly, I think that's it. I just wanted to thank you guys all for your time on this all. I do really appreciate it. This was a lot of work and I've been having butterflies on this all day. But I appreciate you guys listening to me on this. Great. For this session, it sounds like for our in-person folks, we're going to do a question and answer session. So we'll allow the live or the virtual folks to listen on that. And then just a reminder, I'm sure Officer Peak will touch on, send any, if you're virtuals, just send the questions that you have to that email.
We'll open the floor to any in-person attendees right now. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead, sir.
Tell us about what you're seeing in terms of collision. What is the incidence? What kind of collisions are you seeing with it? All these vehicles, I should say.
I mean, I've seen the gamut. I mean, kind of like as I mentioned earlier, with just the reminders of bicyclists and crosswalks.
I'm thinking of actual collision. Collision data. Are you seeing collision? Are you sounding collision?
Yeah. So this is like I mentioned, this is relatively new. So our ability to kind of track these electric vehicle collisions. The technology kind of is still adapting and evolving with how we are recording and documenting these types of collisions because it's an electric bicycle. I don't know that we have the software that is showing the difference between whether or not it's electric versus whether or not it's a standard bike. So I don't have data that I can bring and throw on a graph here and now. But I think, again, as we're evolving and trying to understand and document these incidents, we're going to be doing a better job of trying to make sure that we're tracking that so that we can stay on top of that. With that being said, a lot of these types of bicycle collisions that happen too, I think like even standard bicyclists, they often kind of go unreported. Generally, you'll find it where it's a kid or a young kid that's riding these. They'll bump them, a motorist will bump them, and then they have an exchange and they go about their ways. But we do have our collisions here that happen as well that are a little more severe, but we've documented them. Yeah, I mean they happen with scooters, with electric vehicles, with these electric bikes, and even the electric road bikes.
We're seeing injuries.
Yeah.
Injuries. Fatalities.
Not any fatalities that I know of.
Major injuries, like we had a kid that crashed twice in the same bike. The first time he had a replacement. Second time he phone. So the parents finally took it away. The main thing is speed.
Yeah.
These kids are going way too fast. Like how he said, just a snip of a wire, putting it on a computer, saying, "Hey, let's make this thing go faster." They're just zipping by real quick, not knowing the rules of the road.
Well,
Don't have a license.
So
they're living through our town thinking that it's okay.
And that's what we're trying to get ahead of. I mean, I've been looking at some numbers. I know the county of Marin, their public health department, I think you probably have seen it in the news where they like passed new legislation surrounding these. They've done a lot of research into the types of injuries that happen as well. The faster vehicles are traveling around these, 35 or more. Usually it's always going to be a fatality. A bicyclist versus a vehicle, severe, if not fatal injuries, often. Thankfully, I think while we have been seeing these types of collisions, we haven't gotten to that point yet. But yeah, we do see collisions like this in our area. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That helps.
I noticed early in the presentation you indicated that it is not okay to use your cell phone when you're riding an e-bike. I own multiple e-bikes, and all of the manufacturers offer a phone holder as an accessory. So should we not be using that?
No, so like I think that's fantastic that they do it, and quite honestly, my position's been I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth, but like I wish that like vehicles do that. You know, vehicles offer airbags, they offer seatbelts, and the law has always been the case that it's hands-free riding, right? And so you can use a phone if it's within a cell phone mount. My opinion on your question would be it's in a cell phone mount.
Yeah.
As long as you're not watching a movie or reading emails, you know, and you're using it for GPS purposes, fine. If you have one earbud in and you're on a phone call, again, that's allowed. You're allowed to do that when you're driving. If you have two earbuds in, you're not allowed to do that, whether or not you're driving or on a bike. But yeah, I think that's great, and I think they're taking extra steps to give you some added safety in that and keep that phone out of your hand.
Anyone else?
Sure.
What brought me here is I'm on the Bearsford Hillsdale Neighborhood Association, and so we've had a lot of issues with that. I also live on 31st Avenue, and I'm right at the corner of Hacienda And I've noticed a huge increase. I've been there for many years, and all of a sudden these kids are driving them, and they're basically blowing through the stop sign at Hacienda, and I'm sure they're doing it all the way down. So it seems like there's a huge increase in this popularity of this type of bikes. And I grew up, we just have 10 speeds and state racing, but are you guys able to maybe monitor a little bit all the high schools? It seems like this has become extremely popular, and a lot of kids don't know the rules. And maybe at the beginning of the school year, you can do some enforcement on these types of streets and around the schools to maybe teach your kids, or even go to the schools and have a presentation like this to the students.
Yeah.
I learned a lot today about the different classifications that you offer.
Awesome.
But I think the kids are where the problem is, because they just, they're just young, and we were all there.
So kind of a lot of touching points I want to touch on that. First and foremost, I would challenge you and say I think the parents are the ones that need to be most informed with these, because they're the ones purchasing it. And so my goal in this is, of course, to reach out to the masses. I'm really fortunate to work for this agency. I think we do a very good job of public information, trying to get the message out ahead of time, so that people really understand kind of. We don't look to be an agency that goes out and just gives tickets and makes arrests. We really do, I think, a good job of trying to educate our community and perform proactive community policing when it comes to this. I know me and my fellow traffic officers we've spent the past, I think, 4 months doing what we can to educate the public the best we can by talking to, when we see these motorists or these electric bikes, making contact with them, stopping them, educating them, having them call parents, making sure parents are informed, telling them about today, because I've told all my partners, hey, make sure that I can get as many people as we can. I've also worked with our public information team to really stress and drive home the opportunity for information to our local schools as well. We've pushed information to the San Mateo Foster City School District, the lower level, and then our San Mateo High School. In the works, we hope to partner with them and maybe do some assembly so that they understand, when the parents are purchasing the legal bicycles that they're permitted to be riding, what the rules are for how they operate them safely. So we're working to make sure that we inform the public before strictly just enforcing and giving tickets to 16-year-olds and 20.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about tickets. I'm just talking about educating the kids, giving them a warning, that type of thing.
Yep.
And like with the parents. The other quick question.
Yeah.
So how young is this going? Because we have the middle schools too, and these kids are also, are they allowed to ride these bikes?
So electric, they're allowed to. There's no age restriction on class 1s and class 2s, oddly. 20 miles per hour for a 12, 13-year-old is kind of wild to me, but there's no regulation on it. So I think, again, we need to work with our schools to make sure that we are doing what we can to encourage safe riding practices, talking with parents and making sure that they, again, know about making sure that they know about, like the training resources that I put up for the QR codes. So whether they be, I've seen bike rodeos being a thing, where some organizations will come out and hold training sessions for the kids and stuff. But it doesn't stop here. Our efforts to educate don't stop with this meeting. We're going to continue to make sure that we're trying to partner and educate and train to make sure for safe riding. And we have been. I think we've been doing, we were doing safe schools, safe route to schools with our school resource officers. So now we have the foundation and an understanding, hopefully, that we can spread the awareness and understanding on, like, okay, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what is an e-bike.
Julio.
Sure.
Can I step in really quick? Just to answer this, one of the other parts of that question. Thank you for the question. So, so at the beginning of every school year, especially early on, but we do it throughout the course of the school year, our traffic officers are designated to different schools, depending on the different times of day. And we make a point of going out there to educate and enforce laws relating to traffic, working with the public so they understand the pedestrian laws, they understand bicycle laws, and just general safety around schools. So to answer your question, we will be out there when the school year begins, and we will be providing education, even if at that point we haven't had the assembly that Julio's aiming for. We're going to be out there. Our presence will be seen, and we'll be doing everything we can to keep the streets safe on a daily basis, both at the beginning of school and at the end of the day.
Thanks, sir. Sir? Yeah, thank you for the presentation. That was great. I think it seems like a lot of the problem is not necessarily the technology. I mean, the fact that you can go 30 plus or even 20 plus is certainly exacerbates things. But, if you've got 12, 10 to 14-year-olds, they're not getting instruction to operate on the road, even if it's a bicycle, which is totally germane. And even a bicycle can go 20 miles an hour pretty easily. So, I guess the question is, let's say we can get these things under control and get them to go 10, 15, 20 to not make U-turns everywhere. Like, even then, it seems like a lot of the problem is people are getting hit by drivers too. Yeah. So, I mean, is that real? That I'm sure that'll help if these guys will follow the rules of the road and not go too fast. But, I guess the fundamental question is it safe for kids to ride, where we don't have bike lanes and stuff?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And it's kind of interesting because, like, as I do my daily enforcement and go out, I'm always faced with, hey, how can I make my community safer and what I can do to make sure to hold people accountable for what, safe riding practices would be in the public. And it's always interesting because stopping bicyclists a bicyclist never likes being stopped by the police, right? And it's never fun stopping them because it's like, hey, I'm just a bicyclist. I'm not a car. I don't deserve a $300 ticket. And so I feel that, and I'm like, I get that you're safe. What I tell bicyclists is the same as I tell drivers. If the expectation for drivers is to follow the rules and drive safe, it's the same for bicyclists. So it's a collaborative effort, I think, of making sure that bicyclists are riding what today's intention is, that they're riding safe and riding legal, but also holding the drivers responsible as well. And I think, we do that on a day-to-day basis, making sure that we're being mindful of the complaints where bike riding is problematic when partnered with vehicle drivers. But yeah, I just, unless somebody else wants to chime in, I think, we do the best that we can with what we have, with the amount of officers we have. We try to stay vigilant and make sure that we're holding drivers equally as accountable in their safe driving practices. Yeah, I think.
Julio.
Is it safe?
Oh, yeah. Our city, I would say, I think, could it always be safer? Yes. Do I think that it's a dangerous atmosphere for bicycle riders to exist out in the public? No, I think our city has done a pretty decent job trying to make sure that they're identifying safe bike routes, bike lanes, bike buffers, and they're still working on that as we speak. As you see in the QR code, I think the city's infrastructure is kind of trying to address how to make it safer. But it's a collaborative effort between drivers, between police, between the city, and between bicyclists. So I don't know that I can necessarily answer, is it safe or not? Would I bike out in the streets? Yes, I would. I'm on two wheels already. I'm on a motorcycle. And I see things that opportunities where I can remind people of accountability when driving. But yeah, we do what we can to make it safer. Yeah, I don't think I would hope that you wouldn't take away that it's dangerous for me to ride my bike in the city.
Real quick, Sarge, did you have something on that?
No, I think Julio answered that we essentially do the best we can. And I think our city is doing a good job of creating infrastructure to ensure we do even more to make bicycling safe in the city of San Mateo. And then with regard to juveniles riding bikes, I can, speak to sort of anecdotally, I guess. My 13-year-old is extremely into mountain bikes. He rides with his buddies on a regular basis, I think, and he rides, in the community where I live, he rides to downtown. He's riding all over the place. As a parent, I can't prevent everything that happens. The police department cannot prevent everything that happens because we live in the real world. But, I think it's imperative, it's really incumbent on the parents, especially, to do their best to hammer home to their kids about the rules of the road and safe practices so that they can do their best to try and mitigate dangerous situations that could arise if they weren't paying attention. So I do think it is overall it's pretty safe, but it is statistically it's actually a pretty safe city to drive, be a pedestrian, and ride in the city of San Mateo. So I think it is safe, but a lot of it depends. 12, 13, 14-year-olds, sometimes their decision making is what it is. So it's incumbent on the parents to do the best they can to educate their kids.
And ma'am, I saw your question. I'm sorry we missed you, ma'am. Go ahead.
I was just curious if they don't have a driver's license and they don't have a license plate, how do they get cited? How do they get cited if I'm riding a bike and I'm not legally allowed to ride that bike?
Mm-hmm. Well, the citation doesn't go on the bike. The citation goes to the operator, and so we would just get their identification, and then the person would be held responsible for the violation of the community.
So, but if it's a minor, would the parent be?
The minor would be issued a citation and a notice to appear, a summons to appear in court with their parent for whatever violation of it.
Yeah, I know that I don't have any children myself, but a neighbor who has children has indicated to me that a lot of her friends are seeing e-bikes as a real godsend to help them from having to ferry kids around. Because, parents are constantly, ferrying their kids around to appointments and activities, etc. So they buy them an e-bike and they can take it up. I noticed that you have these training classes, which if I were a parent, I certainly would have my kids take the training class. But is there a charge for these training classes? Because if there is like a significant charge, if you've got 3 or 4 kids, that could mount up, and you're already struggling to raise a family.
I will let him answer part of that question with respects to what we've done with our safe school writing, our safe kids to school, whatever. But I do know that, or I think I'm familiar with the idea that the San Mateo Bike Coalition, I think that they have some trainings that classes. I can't speak to that.
That's the only thing that might be a little, difficult for some young families.
I think I would just direct people to look at the training resources that I put on the screen with respect to CHP and what they offer, and the phone app that they download. I think a lot of it's just like videos where it's showing, hey, when you see this stop sign, this is what you do. Hey, wear bright clothing and use your hand signals. I think things of that nature.
If you're looking for any other information on local trainings or opportunities for education, can you email the PDPIO and I'll look it up for you and we'll get you any resources.
But I don't have any children, but
either way, for the community.
And I would be happy to share the information.
Absolutely. Me too, ma'am. Let me know.
Yeah, I think it's working together. But again, just working together to make sure everybody's safe.
Yeah.
While I haven't specifically looked into those, I did look into all the vehicle code and the safe riding on that. As I blow this away, I do want to, for the in studio folks, I do want to give a special thank you to our local bike store. Straight Wheel Cycling provided these bikes that you see here. We worked collaboratively with them to make sure that we educate the public and see examples. So what you'll see here is Super 73. I think they offer class 1s, 2s, and 3 bicycles, which are fantastic. And then there's a class 2 bike. This is a dirt bike, and then there's another, I think this is a class 2 electric bike. So feel free to look at those. But yeah, I do really appreciate their partnership. We'd like to obviously support local as well. Yeah, they were a big help in making sure that there's a visual for those that are.
And folks, due to time, we are going to end the Q&A right now. I just wanted to open the floor to Sergeant Ryan if you had any closing remarks, Sergeant.
Thank you, Andy. I just want to thank everyone for being here. We really appreciate your willingness to come in here on your own time and get educated on this topic. So, and then also this information is going to be posted on our website. So feel free to direct any friends, families with kids to it to make sure that they get the information they need. And we're happy to help and answer any questions that we can. We're going to continue this education campaign here to the best of our abilities and hopefully get more folks to on board so that they're prepared to help their kids out with the right decisions.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
This one.
Again, if you have any questions, email us mayo@org. We also have the packing papers on our City of San Mateo website. Check that out, and you want to take care.
Right, what are these?